Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm talking all about the things that I made in December 2022. So the first thing I made in December 2022 was this Friday Pattern Company Ilford jacket. And I have made the Ilford jacket before, but this is the first one I've made that's been fully lined. So the fabric that I used for this was from a shop called Mabel's Five and Dime in southeast London, and it is a vintage fabric. Mabel's Five and Dime is a vintage shop, and I just loved the colours of this floral. I thought it was really pretty and really beautiful, and I just had to have it. And I imagined that it would make a really lovely Ilford jacket, so that is why I bought it. The lining fabric that I've used for this one is this really lovely pink brushed cotton from the new Craft House, so that just adds an extra layer of warmth to the jacket. So I'm hoping I can wear this one soon when the weather warms up. I also finished it with these beautiful buttons from Paige Joanna and Pigeon Wishes. So that is the first thing that I made in December 2022. So the second thing I made in December this year is this Marnie blouse. This is the Tilly and the Buttons Marnie blouse. And this is the third version of this blouse that I have made. I have made two versions of this before, and one was the dress and one was the blouse. So this is the blouse version. For this one, I decided to use the ruffle neck. So I didn't do that on the other versions. It's got the lovely ruffle neck. I didn't do the pin tucks, but I did decide to do the shoulder ruffles. And for this one, I doubled the shoulder ruffles up because on the last one, I didn't do that. And if it flips over, you can see the wrong side of the fabric, which is quite a contrast to the right side. So I thought if I doubled up, then that wouldn't happen. And I'm really happy with the way that those ruffles have turned out. This is made in a fabric from Lamazi Fabrics. It's really lovely. I love the colours, I love the flowers, and it's a viscose, which means it's nice and warm and really comfortable to wear as well. The next thing I made in December was this Bakerloo blouse. So this is the same as the one I'm wearing here, but this one is the long sleeve version and this one is the short sleeve version. But I really like the way that the short sleeve version is kind of almost a 3/4 length. And because I put in looser elastic, it means that it sits just below my elbows, which I actually really like for this time of the year. I can imagine in summer it would be nice to have tighter elastic and have it sitting higher. But for this version, I really like that about it. Obviously, it's a Bakerloo blouse. It's got this lovely statement ruffle collar, which I really love about the pattern. I just think it's such a nice feature, and it just really makes it such an interesting top to wear and to make. Another thing is I didn't use the same fabric for the neck binding. So when I'm making tops, I often just choose a plain binding, and I find that that saves so much fabric rather than making your own bias binding. So that's something that maybe you could try if you haven't tried that before. And I don't think, you can't tell when I'm wearing it. No one would ever know. And I actually think it looks really neat. It's a really neat finish. So yeah, so this one is made from a fabric, is CU at 6 fabric from Lamazi Fabrics. And I really love the colours. I love the orange, the purple, and it's got this really pale blue running through it as well, which makes it really lovely. And the final thing, or things, I made in December is this little dog coat, which we'll get to in a minute, and this Ilford jacket, which we'll talk about now. So this Ilford jacket is made from quilted fabric from Sew Me Sunshine, and it is really lovely and warm and really nice to wear, but it's quite tricky to sew because it's actually surprisingly heavy and it's really slippery. So I did have to think about how I made this one and how I constructed it, and I had to think quite carefully about that. So one of the changes I made is in the instructions in the Ilford jacket pattern, it actually recommends that you iron this raw ridge under and then turn over for the placket, button placket down the front. But I didn't do that. What I did was I actually turned it down, and then if you can see a line of beige stitching down there, that was the line to keep that raw ridge contained, because I didn't want to iron it, I didn't want to ruin my iron, and I didn't want to melt the fabric either. So that is what I did. I actually stitched that raw ridge down, and then that enabled me to make a really neat seam on the outside going down the front and along the bottom hem as well. And I'm really pleased with the way that that worked out. I think if I hadn't have done that, then it probably had the potential to look quite messy on the outside. So I'm pleased I did that. Another alteration to the pattern that I made was I didn't put the buttons in. So obviously on this one it's a nice woven fabric and it has the buttons, but this one I decided not to. I just used these little sew-on fasteners, and it seems to work really well. They stay closed, and it's still really comfortable to wear. So I'm pleased I went for that, because I think if I had have tried to put buttons in here, it might have ripped the fabric and it might have potentially ruined the whole thing. So I'm pleased I didn't do that. This one is also lined with the same brushed cotton as the other one, so that just gives it that extra kind of warmth. That's great for this time of year, so I'm pleased I went for that. The pockets on the front are angled, so really good for dog walking. You can get your hands straight in there, which is nice as well. When I made the pockets, I actually bagged the pockets out. So you can see here that the pockets are lined with the brushed cotton, which is good because it keeps them warm. But again, I would have had to have either stitched down that raw ridge to get the neat hem, or ironed it, and I just didn't want to go there with the iron and the fabric. So what I did was I put the fabric right sides together, stitched around the pocket, and then bagged the pocket out, and then stitched the pocket onto the jacket as a whole thing, if that makes sense. So it's essentially just a bagged out pocket. So I'm really pleased I did that, and I think that it was something that I put off for quite a while. I did have the fabric for quite a while, and I just wasn't sure about whether it would work out, and one day I just thought, oh, just go for it, and I went for it, and it worked. So I'm really pleased I did that, because it was super warm and snuggly as well. And the last thing I made in December was this dog coat with the scraps of this jacket. So this is for my dog Patsy, and I made this just basically looking at her dog coat that she has now, and just cut around that with a seam allowance, and then similar thing to the pocket. I just sewed the right sides together and bagged it out, and then I did this top stitching line around the outside, and I'm really pleased with how it's worked out. I think it will be really warm when she wears it actually. I don't know how waterproof it will be, but I think it will give her quite a lot of warmth, because it gives me warmth, so that's good. Same way to fasten the coat is just these little studs, same thing. And what happens is those ones go around her, so her head goes in there, and then her legs will go in there, head, front legs, back legs. So yeah, so really pleased with how that one turned out as well. So they are the things that I made in December. Normally I wouldn't be that productive in a month, but I did have quite a lot of extra time because I wasn't at work for the last 2 weeks in December, and I didn't have really anything else much to focus on, so I was just at home and I could use the time that I wanted to, and obviously I chose my time to sew. I'm really pleased with how all of these things turned out, and I can't wait to wear them in the future. It's going to be really good. And that's it for today. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed seeing all the things that I made in December. I really enjoyed showing them to you, and I hope you have a lovely afternoon, evening, day, whatever time it is for you, and I hope to see you next time.